Yes, you're actually in the shot. Hey y'all, my name is Nat. I hope you're having a terrific day today, and for this video we are going to be doing a anticipated releases reading vlog. Alright, so for this reading vlog, I have two books that just recently came out that of course I was very excited for because I have loved prior books by both of these authors. First up is Haunted Ever After by Jen DeLuca. This is going to be her first book and what looks like a new series called Boneyard Keys, in which we're following Cassie, who has just recently moved to this very small coastal town that is known to be haunted. Little does she know, her house is one of the most haunted of them all. And everything starts with the little fact that her laptop won't charge in her house. But whenever she ends up going to the local coffee shop in order to get a charge and also some coffee, she meets the very charming and handsome Nick, who tells her a little bit more about the town and also eventually helps her to figure out how to commune with this ghost because apparently Nick has a little ghost problem of his own. So it sounds like DeLuca went from Ren fairs to haunted ghost sites, and I am all over that, of course. Here's hoping that this one is going to be a stronger start to the series. I did like Well Met, but it's okay. It's not my favorite of the series. I really hope this might turn out to be more similar to, say, the third book, which is my favorite. It also bodes well for me that Sarah Hogle has a blurb on the back. Just like its invisible residence, I never want to leave Boneyard Key. I hope I don't want to either. On the opposite side, another author I have loved a great deal from in the past, Ava Reid's Lady Macbeth, and I did go out to get the first edition. She is stunning. I mean, hello? So obviously from the title, I think you can put together that this is a retelling of Macbeth, which is obviously a very well-known Shakespeare play, but ironically a Shakespeare play that I actually don't know a lot about. I have heard that'll probably ensure I enjoy this. Two people now I've seen who know Macbeth backwards and forwards read this and did not like it. So maybe my lack of knowledge is actually going to help me out here because we are following our main character who becomes Lady Macbeth. I do know from the original story she is a more villainous character, and obviously I imagine Reid is going to make her a little bit more sympathetic, or at the very least more understanding. I can't wait. This is right up my alley for the kind of stuff I love to read about. Retelling, villainous female character, and then Ava Reid's writing. I think it'll pair very well with this sort of story. Very gothic, very unsettlingly beautiful. Come on, this end page, this screams gothic literature. So here's hoping I will love both of these. Hey friends, so I want to film this update real fast because I hopefully, fingers crossed, will be getting some more reading done. So I have hit the, okay, maybe not the halfway point, but I'm just shy of the halfway point in Haunted Ever After. And this started really strong, it did. It was really cute at the beginning. I love the ghost element of the story. Yes, you're actually in the shot. I love the ghost element of the story. There's so many puns regarding like the haunted areas. All of the places in this town are some sort of ghost pun. I love it. It's really fun. But things have kind of slowed down since like the initial flirting. They had like their first date and we had the first kiss, and then since then we've kind of slogged through the last like 45 pages, unfortunately. It makes me sad because again, this started really strong, but like I'm kind of getting bored and I don't want that. I want to really enjoy this. There's tension between these two main characters, but like not the kind of tension I want. What are you doing? There's tension between these two, but it's because of like, she doesn't know if she's gonna stay in this house because it's haunted. He doesn't know if she's gonna stay here, but he is never going to leave. He is determined to be like the continuing line of his family in this town. And so that's causing an issue, but like, I don't want that. I want like longing and pining. I'm not really loving the romance aspect of it either. I am intrigued to see how the ghost part goes because now she's finally starting to sort of try and work with her roommate ghost, and of course I can't help but liken it to Cordelia with Dennis and Angel.
I am not giving up this apartment.
It's haunted.
It's rent control.
In the last chapter though, Nick went over to visit her and he had this feeling of being overcome by this angry experience, and then the ghost said that he needed to leave. And so he said a bunch of things that like did anger me, and I definitely put a red red flag. But then after the fact, it almost seems like it wasn't him doing it. And so I'm wondering if like maybe the ghost has an issue with his family or like with men or something. So I am intrigued about that. It's almost like the plot aspect is keeping me more invested than the romance really is, unfortunately. We'll see if it gets better. I'm really hopeful. We'll find out when I talk to y'all next. Hey guys, so I am 234 pages into Haunted Ever After. First off, I can definitely tell this is going to be a companion novel series because there's been an introduction to 2 possible couples already that I'm like preparing for an announcement of the next book to be following. One of these 2. deluca is definitely setting something up there. Thankfully, when it comes to the romance here, there has been some development. Nick and Cassie are both trying to figure out more about Hawkins, Sarah Hawkins, the woman who owned the house that Cassie is living in and is currently haunting it, which kind of brought them back together. And I'm glad for how that's been playing out, and they're finally taking the jump into submitting like they have feelings for each other and trying things out, but they're not putting a label on it. They're trying not to be too committed because Cassie still isn't sure if she's gonna stay here. And I don't really love that. I just foresee easy issues appearing because of that situation. If the third act conflict is due to the relationship and not something external, I foresee it being something around this lack of commitment they're showing now. That said, I did like that there was this great scene between the 2 of them where they were really open and were willing to talk out the issues they've had in prior relationships and also just in their personal lives that are affecting the relationships they have. It also made the issues they've had with the romance a little bit more believable and made me a little bit more invested in both their characters. But even still, I'm just really not swooning over this romance, unfortunately. I like the ghost aspect of the story and I'm interested to see where things are gonna go there. But like, I'm not in love with these 2 characters or with the relationship between them, unfortunately. So this just isn't quite living up to the anticipation I had for it, and I'm very sad about that. I'm still enjoying it well enough, and as I said, I foresee a sequel coming out, maybe 2. There's been enough with those characters that I'm also a bit interested in them and seeing their stories. I'm following more stories in this small town. I do really love the small town and just how ghosts are such an accepted thing. I really like that element of it. Hey guys, so I was editing this video and I'm not really sure what happened to the final clip. It seems to have just disappeared. So here I am to close out Haunted Ever After because I finished this book and I did like it. It is very cute. I think it's the perfect transitional romance from summer to fall, with it being set at the beach, Florida, coastal vibes. Like that is so strong, so prevalent. I think this timeline itself, I'm pretty sure, was like leading into summer. I think that's right. But then there's the ghosts and like the recurring ghost theme throughout the whole town. So it does have that autumnal vibe as well. Like I said, I think it's kind of the perfect book to read. For me at least would be like August to September. That said though, I didn't really love the romance itself in this. It is cute, it was a fun read. I just never felt really taken away with Cassie and, what was his name? Nick. With Cassie and Nick's romance. I think Cassie herself was a very well-built character. I think there was some elements to Nick that were pretty well done. I wasn't convinced by perfect romance between them. I wasn't swooning over it. It did get a little spicy. I mean, I liked that. And I did appreciate the fact that the third act conflict was an external thing. It had more to do with the ghosts. Twisted that earlier red flag moment that Nick had. It played more into the plot and I appreciated that. But I feel like a lot of this book I was reading because of the ghost plot. I wasn't really reading it because of the romance itself. I mentioned before, you can clearly tell this is setting up the series. I am definitely gonna try out the next books in the series because I was intrigued by the characters we met here, and I do love the town itself. Aesthetic they have going on, being, you know, ghosty and all that. So this didn't really live up to being a super anticipated read for me, but I'm still glad I got to it pretty quickly. It was a cute read, it was fun. I think if you like deluca, you'll probably like this. While Well Met's whole selling shtick was the Renaissance fair aspect, this is definitely going to be the ghost haunted town, and that's definitely more up my alley, so I am so here for it. In the end, this one was 3.5 stars. I think that's actually what I rated the first book in the Well Met series as well. In that case, then the third book might also be a 5-star for me. We'll see. I'm very intrigued to see what the future books hold. I don't want to be filming this update right now because I'm sick. I feel like crap.
But I basically hit the point in both books that I'm reading where I need to film updates, and I don't want to start a third book. So we're sucking it up and we're doing this. I have hit about 100 pages into Lady Macbeth. I have the dust jacket off. Guys, I was really excited for this before it came out. It really was. Since it has come out, I think I kind of shot myself in the foot by waiting so long because I've seen so many mid and negative reviews that it's really scaring me. It's like dropped my expectations a lot, but it also is making me feel like I'm being more critical of this book. I don't want that, but I also need to read it because I planned out the video, and I need to stop putting off this video because I think it's just getting worse. Like I said, I'm 100 pages in. I love the Gothic writing itself. I do think Reed can do Gothic fairy tale feeling phenomenally. I'm not loving our female main character, and I don't know how to pronounce her name. I'm gonna be honest with y'all. We're just gonna go with the lady. I'm not loving her, and that's because one of the small things I do know about Macbeth, the original, is that Lady Macbeth is sort of a villainous character. She's very conniving and out for herself, and like she's manipulating all the people around her, whereas the lady we are being presented with here is characterized in this very young and experienced, I guess is how I'll put it. It just seems like a child spouting out like all of the nightmarish scenarios they hear from their parents. But on the opposite side, she is still manipulating and conniving. That said though, I am still very intrigued by it. She has been raised as this almost terror to her father because she looks so unusual and like witch marked or witch kissed, as they have stated on the cover. So people have always been very fearful of her. It's so interesting because it's like that has almost demonized her and explains why she is manipulating everybody around her to kind of ensure her own safety. But on the opposite side, it's also separated her from everyone around her. I would love for there to be something about her like connecting with another person. I don't think that's gonna be Macbeth with how things are going so far. If anything, he seems as though he's being characterized like a brute. I don't necessarily know if that's true to the original or not. I do think the showcasing of how unfair women are treated at this time period is a little heavy-handed, but it also does make sense with like the themes that are being set up in the story. So like I'm intrigued on what's going on here. I'm just having very mixed feelings already, which makes me nervous to continue reading, but I'm gonna continue reading.
Hello, my friends. This is not a happy update because sadly, I have come to the decision that I'm gonna DNF Lady Macbeth. No one is more upset by this than I am. Like even Juniper and Thorn, which is probably my least favorite of her work, I still had a lot of praise for. There were still a lot of things in the book that I think were very well done, but right now, all I can think positively about this book is the prose itself. Like yes, it's very Gothic, it's very atmospheric, it has that unsettling fairy tale folklore feel that I love. That's the only good thing I've got for you. I've said before, I'm not really familiar with Macbeth, and from a lot of reviews I looked at, it seemed as though that was a positive thing, that was going to help me not be comparing it to the original too much. Even with that, I'm not really having a good time, unfortunately. The lady is not the sort of character I like. She's very meek and timid. First off, those aren't really characteristics of female main characters that I tend to enjoy. Other of Reed's characters could also fall into that, but I feel like there's this transformation you watch them go through. And like I can see little bits of that in our main character here, but the arc she's going on, I'm not rooting for her. She talks up her positive attributes, that she's quite smart, that, you know, she can be manipulative. I wouldn't really say what we're seeing her do backs up those claims. All of her actions almost come across as either childish or moronic, and the childish thing I think comes from the fact that she is a 17-year-old girl. I'm assuming that change to the original story was because Reed was trying to make it more true to like actual history. So I get it,
but obviously I don't really like it, especially when everything else in the story is very adult. I think it just really makes it glaringly obvious how young she is. I wouldn't necessarily say she's naive, but her position of power has still protected her for a very long time, and even now, it still is protecting her. I appreciate the fact that Reed is showcasing how self-serving she is, how she's doing everything for her own benefit, and she realizes some very terrible stuff is happening because of her self-preservation. But it's also done in like the most cowardly way possible, and again comes back to the fact that like I can't root for her. She's not a character I like, she's not a character I want to follow. The more we see of her, the deeper she falls into this like cold, villainous character, and the less I want to keep reading. Also, don't really love the fact that like every single Scottish character is presented in this really terrible caricature way. Pretty much all male characters also are awful. I think the love interest is the only one who's shown some semblance of decency. It almost feels like Reed took aspects of A Study in Drowning and then amplified those to 10 without adding the nuance to them, because there's similar themes between the two stories that I can see, but again, they're just done like so much more aggressively here, and the way they're being handled is paling in comparison to how they were done in Study in Drowning. Basically, there was nobody in the story that I could root for, and like I get it. It's a tragedy, you know, I have certain expectations going into it. I'm not even enjoying watching everything play out. There's also a romance that was developing that I just was not interested in. These two come together all of a sudden, and it took me so off guard because it felt like it was based on nothing. We've seen a little bit of growth from it, still not really much there, so it's evolving into more nothing, and because of that I am getting more uncomfortable and I don't want to watch it continue. So freaking sad. This one hurts so much. Like I went and bought this the week it came out. I was so excited for it. This is one of my favorite authors. This is not doing it for me at all. I am heartbroken. This has, however, convinced me that I do think I need to look into the actual play of Macbeth, because maybe I would enjoy that more. Hello, my friends. First off, we're filming in my office and it's a little bit of a mess in here. Please ignore. Second, I'm trying to be a little quiet because Josh is taking a nap. I know technically I finished both books I was planning to read for this video, but this video was kind of a letdown, if I'm being honest. And thankfully, another book came out right around this time that I knew chances are it would not let me down. And I was right. 𝗖cie Volume 12 by tatsuya Endo came out, and so I figured I'm just gonna go ahead and insert a little mini review for this here, so things end on a more positive note, because I did really like this. It was very cute. I feel like this one very much went back and forth between continuing to further side characters' plots while also furthering the main storyline. It also doesn't necessarily further the main storyline. It's more like we're getting more of the spy aspect of this, of Twilight actually being a spy and seeing that work out, which of course I'm really into. But it doesn't necessarily like further the plot. It's more like a obstacle is now in the way, and they're having to deal with that. One way or another though, this one was a lot of fun. Like I said, there are a few filler issues in here, but I'm also very excited to see this stuff that's going on here transitioned into the anime. Many of the little fillers I think there's like enough there that they could stretch it into a full episode, and even like in the back, there's even a little bonus mission where Lloyd makes like a little comic for Anya, and I could totally see that becoming a full episode as well. So I just feel like the little things in this series that kind of further the characters' relationships are just always so well done, and even though they are filler, like they really don't continue the actual story, I'm enjoying the characters enough that I don't even really mind that, because I'm just so invested in them. I love getting to see more of Twilight being an actual spy. So this was a great time. This was a really strong like 4-star, I think I would say. Usually I keep my 5 stars for when like something really great in the plot is happening, but even still, I'm very glad that at least one book I was anticipating in the last month went positively for me, at least. On that note, that is it for today, y'all. Thank you so much for coming to my channel. I really appreciate it. Make sure to hit like and subscribe down below. I have all my socials, as well as a few ways you can support me, linked in the description. I come out with videos on Monday and Friday, but until then, I hope you continue to have a terrific day. Love you, bye!